Just having like an editor from Europe, like
Right?
you don't need to say it's Dan. Like you hired an editor from
From
Europe.
Europe. Yeah, that's
Big budget. Hello, Nicholas. You said you had a question for me.
I do. Last night I texted
God.
you. I was at
Oh, what?
work. I was at work and
Oh,
I was
no.
just like the gears were really turning.
You were
about-
you had a very productive night. I know where this is going. Okay.
Yeah, the gears were really turning. I texted you and I was like, I'm just having a bunch of ideas for Point of Due. Can you talk? And he wrote back, I'm drunk, LOL, so I don't know if I'm in the best state to chat about it. So like coherent, right? And I said, haha, okay. The next text, I'm ready for tomorrow though. I think my questions will revolve around the message I sent in Signal, like the areas I sent in that message. I wrote, okay. And he said, does that sound okay for you? And I was like, in my head, I'm like, well, I don't know what that means, but yes, that's perfect, is what I responded. What were you trying to say?
I thought that was pretty coherent. I don't know. That's not the worst that I've texted. Also,
But
the
what
first
does that
message.
mean?
The first message. I am drunk. LOL. Som IDK.
So, yeah, but I just figured that was a typo.
Yeah.
But he's ready for today, though.
I'm
love
ready.
that.
I'm ready for today. The funny thing is, I wasn't even out. I was actually home. My mom's gonna kill me. I was home with my mom's college friends, which is very appropriate for this episode because we're talking with some of our college friends. Sober, different. Maybe we should do a Point of Due after dark. Should we?
I've suggested it many a time.
You would lead that episode because you
I don't know.
drink as much as we do, or I do.
I don't know. You told us on episode 12 that you know your way around the bases. So
That's different from. Also, I'm making myself sound like I have a problem with alcohol. Let's just be clear. I
he
don't
does
have
not.
a problem with alcohol.
no, you're very irresponsible. I just thought the text was hysterical.
was-
And I was like, I need to roast him for this
That was really funny.
in the episode.
I am ready for today. I'm very excited about this episode.
Me too.
This episode is coming out the week that Loyola students, undergrad and graduate students graduate, the commencement stuff, baccalaureate mass, all of that.
Say it with me. Boom, 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 boom. Anyways,
I can't believe it's been another year since I've graduated. That makes it 2. That makes it a 3 for you, kind of, but 2 since you walked on the wonderful stage.
yes.
And it's been now about 1 year since our guests have graduated, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm seeing their faces right now, and they're like, "Oh my gosh!" So we're gonna get into that. I think we should bring them in. We're gonna talk about the theme of this podcast, kind of reason why we started it. What the heck happens when you graduate college, and what do you do with your life? The big questions. So
Yes.
I think we should bring our guests in. So we met both of our guests at Loyola. They both always bring a smile to my face. Their energy, their laughs, their presence just in general just makes anyone around them feel good. No matter, where they might be personally, they're always making sure that others around them are feeling good, bringing smiles to people's faces, just a positive vibe. Our first guest has been on the show before. You might recognize her from the episode I Have a Pit. I don't know if you have an episode number for that one, Nick, but
Episode 5.
5. So earlier on, not as good audio quality, but we're improving every single episode. So here we are. She graduated from Loyola with a Bachelor of Arts in Speech Language Hearing Sciences with a minor in Catholic Studies. She graduated last year, as I mentioned. She hails from the great state of New Jersey. We met in campus ministry. She ended her last episode saying this.
Like more Angela. She was great.
Do it. We'd be happy to have you back.
So, without further ado, I think we should bring her in. Welcome back, Angela Solazzo.
Oh, thank you very much. That was embarrassing. I forgot I said that.
That's okay, because you're part of an elite club now, which is the point of two. Oh, we should call it that. The point of two guests. Two-time guests. We've only had.
I like
yeah,
it.
look at that. Yeah, you're a returning guest. You're part of an elite club.
Happy to be
welcome
here.
back.
Angela.
Thank you.
I'm very excited to have you back. And I don't want to leave our second guest waiting. Our second guest also graduated from Loyola last year with a Bachelor of Arts in Global Studies with minors in Spanish and Environmental Studies. I met her at Loyola through Angela and my other friend Danielle, but I'm happy to say that we've kindled our own friendship as well. Despite her following me on Instagram immediately after we met and me not following her back for 2 years. Yes, that's a scandal. We can talk about that when she gets on here. She worked in Loyola's Center for Community Service and Justice and founded, or at least was part of the founding team of Loyola's Forever Green thrift store. She hails from the great state of Pennsylvania. And honestly, I can say that over this last year, we've become so close, and I'm so grateful for her friendship. Please welcome Bernie Del Prado.
Hello, friends.
Hi, Bernie.
Oh my gosh. Well, Justin, I am still a little bit salty with you about that, but it's okay.
Can we just
I didn't know that.
I didn't
You
either.
didn't know that either.
No.
Yeah, he didn't know that either until I was comfortable enough to tell him. I was like, hey, did you know that I followed you and you didn't follow me back, and I like wanted to be friends with you, but there was this
Were you
tension
private,
there.
Justin?
Yes, and that's the thing is she requested me, I accepted, and I guess I just didn't follow her back
Wow.
for
Justin.
2 years.
Justin, was she the girl that you were like, I am not accepting that? No, I'm kidding.
That was the one?
Oh my god.
It was her.
Yeah, spilling the tea now.
Yes. So both of you, welcome. I'm very excited I feel like this episode's been a long time coming because we've been talking to you about wanting to do this. And I think the timing of it couldn't be better because we have friends who are graduating from Loyola this week, the week the episode is released. But before we get into that, as you know, there's always a question we ask every one of our guests.
I'm scared.
Bernie's nodding her head. Angela
Oh,
has
man.
answered it before. Angela, I want to remind you of your answer. I think
Yeah,
I will
please
go
do.
to you first, and then we can go to Bernie. This is what you said previously.
I think I would go with an apple, really, because I love apples. I really do. They're like a great fruit. They're always, but the reason why is I would say I'm reliable and like kind of like classic, always there. Just and apples are never really bad unless you let them go bad. But yeah, that's my basis. I think an apple. They're just they're reliable. They're good. I would hope I'm reliable and good. And
I like
that's
that
all.
answer.
And does love apples. I can attest to
You're
that.
going to attest to that?
Yeah.
I love apples and cheese. Cheese sticks.
Apples and cheese.
Apples and cheese sticks.
There's a story behind that.
Yes.
It's just a good snack. It's a good, appetizer at a fancy restaurant. I don't know, I guess.
I said
maybe.
it's like it's the kid version of a charcuterie board. Cheese sticks and apples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
I
right.
think I'll stick with that.
Wait, what was the question?
So,
what-
the question is, if you were a fruit, what fruit would you be and why?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't it
If I
hard?
yeah, that is a hard question.
I got nervous when you brought it up. I was like, shoot, I didn't think about it again. But I'll stick with apple.
She's taking the easy way out. I answered it before. I'll stick with that.
Yeah.
While Bernie's thinking, if I think of something else,
Okay.
Oh gosh.
there's just so many fruits in the world.
I know. I wanted to go with like an exotic fruit, because I love like exotic fruits from Asia. Like whenever I'm in the Philippines, I always have such interesting fruits. So I'm trying to think of an answer. Yes, and I'm Asian, sure.
Because you're an exotic fruit from Asia.
Yeah, because I'm an
Well,
exotic fruit from Asia.
Isn't that part of my reason? Do you know what we are, Bernie? What
What?
Nick and I are? So
What-
I'm a pineapple, and my whole reasoning was because I said pineapples are unique looking. I'm unique looking. I think at some point I might have said they're exotic fruits or something like that, and it's like along the same line that you're
Yeah.
thinking. Nick changed his multiple times, but he's now stuck with a cherry.
I've been a cherry though since like pretty much the beginning of the show. Like as in like my first two were like the first two times we asked this question, and then I was like, you know what, I'm sticking with cherry. We've been marketing me as a cherry.
That's why
for a long
Angela's
time.
previous episode was called "I Have a Pit."
Yes, it was, because the avocado. I was an avocado before that, and before that I was a coconut. But
Oh
I'm
my
sticking
God.
with cherry. I've stuck with cherry. It feels right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my apple too. I'm gonna,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, so much pressure.
No,
Brittany,
take
I
your
can-
time too. 'Cause
I
we're
can
not
talk
live.
while you do this. Do you want
What?
more reasons why I'm an apple?
Yeah, Anne just loves talking about herself. She just manifested this.
Mm.
More Angela. And here she is.
I can't believe I said that. I was really feeling positive about myself that time.
I'll need more time to think.
Yeah, we can circle back. We have both of you on because we love you guys, of course, but part of the reason why we started our podcast, as we said in the beginning, was we felt like there was a space. There were some friends we were talking about, or talking with, and we were feeling a little bit lost after graduating. I think, Nick, when we started this, were both of us unemployed? I think we were.
Yes. Well, no, I was waiting tables, and you were doing the furniture bank, I believe, at
Okay.
the time.
Okay.
But we didn't have our full-time jobs.
Yeah. And so we were trying to figure out kind of what life after college looks like. And so I feel like this is a homecoming for the show, is we wanted to stick with, that idea and have episodes revolving around that, especially in May. So I guess the first question that I want to ask, or I guess the second question, because the first question was go ahead.
I have a quick question before you
Okay.
say that. And this is a serious one. Are the both of you prepared to answer the questions that will revolve around the message Justin sent signal, like the areas Justin sent in that message? Are you prepared to answer those questions?
Yes. Is this a
Perfect,
waiver?
Yeah.
This is legally binding.
Like, understandable, because graduation is it's an emotional topic.
Perfect. Justin, we are in the clear. Ask your first question.
Take off.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Bernie, I think I'm going to go to you for this one. Can you just, and briefly is probably difficult, but can you briefly share what you've been up to in this last year since graduating?
Oh gosh. Okay. So since graduating, this is a lot to talk about. Okay.
Hard-hitting question
Yeah.
right off the bat. We're going to dive
Hard-hitting
deeper into it
question.
too. So feel free to be like higher level. Just
Yeah,
kind of
right.
general.
So right after graduation, I wanted to take some time to travel. So I traveled around Europe for 6 weeks. Right after graduation, literally a week after graduation, we left for our pilgrimage. And then after our pilgrimage, I decided to travel with some friends, visit some friends in Europe, and that was a really amazing time. And I decided that I didn't want to do anything full time yet, so I still wanted to travel. So I traveled to Germany and France with my family, went to Copenhagen for a couple days, and I traveled to the Philippines for 5 weeks since that's where my family's from, and got to spend Christmas with my family over there. So yeah, I just wanted to take a couple months off right after graduation to focus on that. And then after coming back from the Philippines, that's when I started to really focus in on applying to full-time jobs. So I was in that process, or currently still in that process, since January till now. And I actually just started a part-time job at a local yoga studio, and like literally last week. So now that's taking up some of my time, and I'm really enjoying it. So that's what I've been up to this last year.
I love that. I love that you took time to travel.
Yes.
Because I feel like something we've talked about on the show before is you graduate, you feel like you have to get a job right away. And then once you're in the job, it's like, all right, now I don't have any free time, or you have to take PTO, you have to take time off in order to do those things. And, I know you've always enjoyed traveling in your life. So I love that you took the time to do that before kind of really,
Yeah,
getting
for sure.
into.
Thank you. Well, I can get into this more later, but I think that that was always my plan after graduation, that I was going to travel.
I also, and I know you won't mind me saying this too, that being able to travel, the opportunity to travel is definitely like a privilege that like I
Absolutely.
have, you have, like that, not everyone gets to too. So just acknowledging that, because, we want to be just mindful doing that before, getting into job applications and stressing out about what comes next. It's nice to just
Yeah.
pause, you just completed your college career. Like it's time, you should celebrate. There should be time to celebrate and do take some time for you. So I
Yeah, and
love that.
especially like I think Ant can agree with this on can agree with me on this, but especially not being able to study abroad. That was one of the things in college that we were really looking forward to, and not having that opportunity to do that, I think it it made me even more determined to do that after graduation or have that set plan. So I really wanted to prioritize that experience at this age. So I think that
Yeah.
was my that was my priority, to explore the world after graduation before I do anything full time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, also you bring up a good point of like, you're the class of 2022, and the pandemic definitely took something away from all these kind of grades that were in college, high school, everything. And so I think the big thing that it took away from your grade was the ability to study abroad, because the pandemic hit your sophomore and then into junior year, right? Is when things still weren't really, travel wasn't really an option.
Hmm.
So, Angela, what about you? What can you give us kind of an overview about what you've been up to since graduating? And I might, just a warning, I kind of have an idea of what you might say, so I might pull up another audio clip.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's funny the timing of this is like last time we were recording was the summer before senior year. It's like a year later, or is that 2 years? Yeah, oh my
We
gosh.
It's
recorded in 2021.
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 2 years later. So it's just funny because it's bringing back memories of like me thinking about the future. But future being now, what I've been doing is so after grad, like Bernie said, we went on a pilgrimage. I'm sure you've talked about the pilgrimage on here a little bit before, but I was on that pilgrimage for a shorter time. So I traveled a little bit, and then my family and I traveled in Italy a little bit also after the pilgrimage. So that was like directly after graduation. My like plans for post grad were kind of just go home. And that wasn't like the original plan, but I kind of took a shift. Um, so I decided to go home and just I was like, all right, I'll just like look for a job. Was definitely rethinking my like career path. So I basically took a job in my high school. So I was teaching at my high school and doing campus ministry for them, and then I actually quit that job in January. So was in there for like August to January. And then recently I've just been working like more or less like a part-time job. So I was doing babysitting type work in like February time. And then now I'm working the job that I used to work in high school. So I'm like helping out a family friend's business. She does like event design. So I'm helping out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've been jumping around.
Yeah. I think the reason why we wanted to talk to you two specifically too is because
Yeah.
all four of us on this show right now graduated and didn't have plans for, or we had maybe loose plans, but didn't have a job lined up immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
And I think that's the expectation sometimes when you graduate, is you have a job lined up, or you're maybe in the interview process already and have a job lined up. And so we are always trying to complicate the story. We're always trying to broaden perspective on like, when you graduate, you don't need to have
Yeah.
your shit figured out. And I know I've talked to both of you individually about this, but I wanted to come on because myself, Nick, Bernie, Angela, none of us had that set up,
Yeah.
and we're doing fine. We're doing
Hmm.
okay. And Angela, if I might, I just want to play the clip.
Please
Since you
do.
have experience teaching now, you had said this. The context is we were talking about perfectionism, and we were talking about how grades is a big part of perfectionism. And I brought up how do gym teachers even grade gym? And I think Nick said that it's some sort of favoritism, and you said this, and I want to know if this is true.
Uh-oh. All teachers have favorites.
You said all teachers have favorites. I know it's kind of hard to listen. Here we go again.
All teachers have favorites.
Okay. It's just all teachers have favorites. So is that true?
Yes.
Yes. Being from a former teacher.
I have my favorites. Yeah. There's just people you like more. It's kind of just like friends. Like there's some people that you're like, I could be friends with them. And then some
I
kids
thought you were gonna say, yeah, I have favorite friends.
I
Or
have
like,
those
I have
too.
like, but like, oh, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess that makes sense, but
Yeah, it's like you have acquaintances and then you have friends.
no, that's true.
No, you have favorites. I mean, it's interesting though, being a teacher, it does make you, I like, at least from a girl's perspective, like from my perspective, I felt like a mom. Like, so it did feel like I had to love all of them equally. And I did feel like I loved them. Like it was really emotional quitting because it was like you really care about them. But you do have some whose personalities you enjoy more than others.
And actually, I do, if I might, before Nick asks
Yeah.
the next question, if you feel comfortable, can you talk about, okay, you started the job teaching, and I know that it was a very difficult decision for you to choose to leave that job, you know, and you know, I'll say it what it was too, in the middle of the school year, right? And
Yeah.
so can you talk a little bit about what brought you to that decision and why it was the right decision for you?
Thank you
Yeah.
for asking that, because I wanted to ask that before my next question.
Okay, glad we're on the same page for once.
Yes, I will talk about it. I do like approach it with caution just because I don't want to talk negatively too much about
Of course.
I mean honestly about like the school itself and then also like me because I've been warned by like family and friends to not put too much like blame on myself. But just generally it was kind of like all in all kind of being a little objective, it was just not the right fit for me. And because of that, I did not feel like the work that I had to do to make it work for the end of the year was like worth it for me. And it was taking a toll on me, like mentally, physically, all emotionally, all of them. So I was just basically, I didn't go to school for education. So I had to put in a lot of work to like get to a point where I felt comfortable leading a classroom. I was also leading 7th and 8th grade. Like I was teaching 7th and 8th graders. That's a lot of work, needless to say. So there's a lot of things that like you do need to know and like have that education background, I would say, to like lead 7th and 8th graders. There's just like behavioral techniques and things to like get them to actually be able to like listen to you. So all that stuff I had to kind of like teach myself as I was doing the job. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of support at all. I was kind of like thrown into the role. So just not having that teaching background, this being my first real job, first teaching job. If you ask any teacher, they all know like first year teaching is like crazy. It's like everyone's nightmare year. It's like some people say it's like the worst year of their life. Like it's just a huge adjustment. So just all of that like compounded, it just made it like way too overwhelming. There were a bunch of other like little things. There wasn't someone like in the role before for a long time. Like it was just someone for 1 year. So there wasn't a lot of stuff set up for me to begin with, blah, blah, blah. All those reasons. It was just like getting way too stressful. I was putting in way too many hours. So I just needed to step down because I was suffering a lot. It was like really stressing me out and I was not doing well. So yeah, I just decided that it was time to leave in January. I thought about it multiple times, honestly, before in those few months that I was working. But yeah, I just decided to step down and I'm really glad I did.
Yeah. I mean, brave decision, courageous decision. And I think, you know, prioritizing your overall health and well-being is extremely important. You know, we don't live to work, we work to live. We've said this on the show before, and that's really important.
I love that quote. So
Me too.
okay, I didn't know if anybody was going to say anything.
Yeah, or silence.
Well, I was going to say too. You just said it was the right, or you're glad that you stepped down, so you know you made the right decision.
Yeah, it's funny, like the right decision. It's like funny to say that, like there is no right decision, you know. Like
That is also true.
I had like 2 options there. but I do think it was like the right decision. I say that just because it was so hard for me to make, that it was like I was looking for a right decision, but it's not black and white like that, you know. It's not like ABC multiple choice, but
Right. Nothing is.
afterwards it was like, yeah, this was the right decision. Because just like my way of living, like how quality of life improved exponentially afterwards. And yeah, it's still hard to like think about, because like I did enjoy a lot of parts of the job, but yeah, definitely a right decision in hindsight.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have a question for both of you. I'm going to start with Bernie.
Yeah.
Do you miss college or undergrad, Loyola?
I think that there are aspects of college that I do miss, but I do not miss the stress of needing to balance academics, social life, extracurriculars. I think through this time after postgrad, I've learned that I've learned to cherish my free time and prioritize my alone time and just being bored too. I feel like I was never bored in college.
I also agree. We were never bored. Like when people asked us like what we did on free time, I would laugh. I would be like, I don't have free time. Like, what is free time?
Right. Yeah. So I think that's one thing that I don't miss. But I think the socialization, the constant socialization, even though it's exhausting, it can be exhausting at times. I do miss my friends a lot, and just having that community. Like, I know that there's some bad things about being at a small school. You can't hide anything, you know everyone. But I don't know. I just miss seeing familiar faces all the time and saying hi to people and um always having options to if you are bored or if you want to see someone, it's just so easy to find someone that you know and hang out with them. And but now being home, not having a lot of my friends at home, that's definitely a bit harder, and not having a lot of communities to go to. I just miss having that sense of community or just a community to go to, because I feel there's a lack of that right now in my life.
Yeah, and I was gonna say all four of us also moved home after college, which is unique. So I'm sure all of us can talk about that too, of like the social piece of college that doesn't necessarily follow you home, and having to adjust to that because you live in one place, typically in walking distance to all of your friends, and then they all spread out, and it's an adjustment.
You start a podcast with them.
Yeah, to stay connected.
Ironically, the one that also moved back to Massachusetts, but that's beside the point.
All right, we have Dan. Dan is in Europe, so you know.
This is true. Angela, do you miss college? And would you? I guess my real question is, would you go back, like to undergrad?
Yes.
Do you miss it that? Okay.
Yeah. No, I would go back.
Okay.
But I would go back like Bernie said, I don't miss like the hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, we did a lot.
Yeah.
We did like now when you're out of it, looking back, I was like, oh my God, I was so overworked all the time. I was like just doing the most, and Bernie too. Like we were just, squeezing the sponge.
When they squeezed the sponge,
we squeezed it
dry. It was
that
like
thing
crumbled.
was wrecked.
It was
But
in pieces.
I would go back. I would go back with the knowledge that I have now, like to kind of do it differently. But I miss again, like, I don't miss homework. I don't miss writing papers. Surprise, surprise. But I do miss like the community, the environment, even learning. I love to learn. I love like taking notes. such a weird like
I was
thing.
gonna
But
say
like
I do miss learning. I don't miss the
yeah,
work, but I do miss learning.
like the stimulation of being in a classroom. Like there are certain classes that like I would love to have gone back to. But yeah, mostly just like the lifestyle and well, the lifestyle of like having everyone around and like waking up and walking to campus and having everything kind of in a hub.
Yeah, I was just curious because a lot of people say, "Oh, college," and they say the best 4 years of your life, but some people stay in college longer than that and go to grad
Yeah.
school, and then, you know, look at Justin. I
Look at Justin.
I'm
Look
going
what
back
he's
for 5
doing.
more years.
Yeah.
exactly,
Crazy
exactly.
kid.
But I was just curious, and there's no wrong answers.
Yeah.
I feel like the point of college is for you to be is for you to grow and use your knowledge and skills and the things that you learn through the 4 years in the real world. And I feel
Right.
like I want to use my knowledge and skills well and be impactful to my community or wherever I go and see how it impacts the people that I encounter. And I think you can still continue or
Yeah. I don't know. I guess for me, I was quick to say yes just because after graduating and because we had COVID, like, and now seeing the senior year, like the senior class kind of having such a normal year, that's where I would want to go back because it's like, oh man, I just wish I could have
I
like,
agree with that.
yeah,
Doesn't
like,
it suck? I just want to name it. Like,
yes.
doesn't it suck?
I know what you mean now. Like, I'm typically not like a nostalgic, like longing person. Like, normally I'm not like, oh, I missed that. Like, oh, I wish I could. Like, that's not normally me. But oh my gosh, seeing them like do all these things that they're like, just even just having their last moments, like, I feel like I'm processing it more than I did a year ago. Like, I
Yep,
feel like
me
I'm
too.
feeling it all again.
Also, for context of to Justin and Nick and people listening,
Yeah.
Ange and I had COVID the week of graduation.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
horrible.
It was just
Oh,
the worst ending. I mean, there could have been worse things to happen.
We thankfully got to make it, but like some people didn't
Mhm.
like make it to graduation.
that sucks.
Yeah, it was horrible timing. Like there was literally a breakout, at least in the senior class. I think it was spread throughout the whole school, honestly.
I know that like 25% of the global studies majors had COVID.
It was global studies majors. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, it was
But I
who
think
knows
that,
who it
like
was.
with that being said, like having that kind of ending to our
Yeah.
senior year, not being able to be present and enjoy it, as well as just missing out on the regular school events throughout our college career. I think I do agree with Ange on that I do
Yeah.
miss it. And I don't want to say that I'm jealous, but I am. Like, truth be told, I am jealous of my friends that are experiencing their senior year as authentic as it could be, like before the pandemic.
Yeah.
We
And it's-
discussed that on a recent episode. Sorry, Justin, I didn't mean to cut you off, but an episode about mourning. So it's called S&M, Sadness and Mourning.
Because we also talked about Rihanna in that episode.
Yes.
But no, but yeah, in that
Queen.
episode, I talked about how I am still grieving. I'm grieving what the pandemic took away from me. Just briefly, you can go and listen to it to get the full story. But like, in terms of like going out and stuff, like I developmentally, like I got a fake. I never used it. It was terrible. I just was going to use it. I like, went out when I went abroad. Then I planned to save it kind of all for senior year. And then the pandemic hit and we couldn't go out at all. I mean, we could have, but we were strongly encouraged by Loyola not to in 2021 because it was like we were virtual in fall 2020 and then spring 2021 they were like, don't go out because you'll be carped. So
Carp. Oh my gosh.
Carp.
Trigger warning.
Yeah.
Nick, you have no idea. It was like lockdown.
I
you
hate-
basically
They would
like
carp
couldn't-
your building and you couldn't
Yeah.
leave.
And you couldn't like
You
get
couldn't leave
food-
campus.
Yeah, you couldn't stay in Boulder and eat. Like you had to only take out. Horrible.
All right.
But yeah, so it's and yeah, Bernie, I think you said it right. Like you don't want to feel jealous, but yet you do, because when it was your time to experience those things, you weren't able to, or we weren't able to. And I think that's grief. I mean, it's because of the pandemic. And, you know, it doesn't mean that we don't want our senior friends right now to be experiencing all of it, because, you know, I think we're all the type of people who want them to have the best possible senior that they can have. But at the same time, it doesn't neglect our own feelings. You know, you guys, class of 2022, Nick, class of 2020, me, class of 2021, things that were taken away from us that we missed.
Yeah. I think there's actually like a word for that. There's like jealousy is like you want what someone has. I think there's a word for wanting, like
Covet.
not wanting yeah, I think covet. Yeah, I learned this is the theology background. Like when they say like covet, it means like you don't want that person to have what they have, which is a lot deeper than like just feeling jealous.
Right.
Yeah.
Thou shall not covet thy neighbor's graduation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the 11th commandment.
Thy neighbor's power
The
plant
10th
experiences.
The 10th
Also-
commencement.
Justin, I think we should go out and you should use your faith just for good measure.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I wanted to shift a little bit into, when we started the podcast, I said that Saturday I graduated, Sunday I drove back, Monday I woke up in my childhood bed, in my childhood bedroom, and I kind of had an identity crisis of like, what now? That was my experience, but I wanted to ask you both, how did you feel immediately after graduating, when you came home? I know you traveled immediately, maybe not immediately after graduating, but when you had downtime to just kind of reflect on, okay, this big life event just happened, what was that like for you?
So I would say, like, all right, timeline kind of to set it up. For me, it was, and I think Bernie was the same because I think her family stuck around for a little bit too. But because we had COVID, we had not moved out. Like we hadn't like packed at all, really. So like Bernie went home when she had COVID, right, Bern? Yeah. And I went to isolation on campus. So isolation, day of graduation, I literally like packed up from isolation, moved in back home to my like apartment on campus, graduated on Saturday, stayed over Saturday night, Sunday, packed up my whole apartment with Bernie's family, and then moved home. So like woke up Monday morning in New Jersey. So yeah, I think like the question was like, how did I feel? So you're asking like,
Yeah,
what
when you had time to
sentiments?
just kind of reflect on, you graduated college.
It
What
was
a,
just like,
life accomplishment.
yeah, it was crazy. It was like, I think immediately after I did feel great. Like I was like, wow, like I can do nothing. Like I can watch TV now. I don't have to like grind.
Liberation.
No, I literally didn't watch TV in college. Like I just never had downtime. Like I said, I never had downtime. I was way too busy. So there was, I mean, right after I was sad. Like there was so much nostalgia. Like, you know, it was a mixed emotion. It was like I was sad. I knew I like would never have that kind of experience again where all my friends were in one place. I wouldn't be living with my friends. Like being back in your childhood bedroom and actually having to stay there for a long time, like knowing that you're not gonna move back into your college dorm in a week after break is over. It's like it hits different. You're just like, oh man, like this is a little sad. I don't like my purple walls as much as I did when I was 8.
I
But-
feel that.
Yeah. But also, you know, it was also mixed with like, wow, we did that, like, and we did that at a really like, you know, unprecedented time. We did a lot of hard things and we got through it. And now we can kind of like relax a little bit and enjoy.
Yeah.
What about you, Bern?
Well, I was gonna say I still had exams after graduation, as I said earlier.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So yeah, my last exam I handed in the Thursday after graduation, and then I had a graduation party that weekend, and then we left for Europe on that Monday. So it was just like I right after graduation, we did not get to process anything really. Like I had to prep for a 6 week trip to Europe. So I didn't get to process everything probably until afterwards. And honestly, after I got back from Europe, that was a pretty low for me. I think not just from college, but also just my trip. Obviously, traveling for 6 weeks, there's just always excitement, always something to do. You're just go, go, go. And then just coming back home to a quiet home in Pennsylvania, not really having much to do. As I said, I don't have a lot of friends in the area, or all of my friends have full-time jobs. So I feel like that's when I started processing everything. And I was like, wow, I have nothing to do. I don't really want to have a full-time job yet. So what are my other options? Like I don't want to work yet because I was super burnt out as I feel like Angela has mentioned before. So yeah, I was really in I just kept questioning what I wanted. I knew that I had some travel planned for September and November later on, and obviously to the Philippines too for Christmas. So I had those to look forward to. But otherwise, in those waiting periods, I was just like, what do I do? Where do I go? Who do I hang out with? And that just made me spiral. And it was a very challenging time of my life, honestly. And I'm still thinking those things. I'm in a much better mindset now, but I think I'm still questioning what I want to do, where I want to be, who I want to hang out with. So it's these are thoughts that will still keep going well after graduation.
Appreciate how candid you are with sharing too, because I think that's important for people to hear. Because I mean, Angela alluded to it. We had this conversation. I mean, we talked on the podcast, or I guess 2 calendar years ago. But I don't know if you guys would be able to have that perspective a year ago when you were still seniors, and I don't think our senior friends were able to have that perspective until after they graduate. You really, really only truly understand this after you've already graduated.
Yeah.
And you're definitely not alone in what you're talking about, Bernie, too, because like I said, I experienced that to a degree too, and I'm sure the other 2 people, Nick and Angela, have experienced that too.
And can I say something else?
Of course.
Especially being home and not having a lot to do, I get stuck on social media and yeah, I get stuck
The
on
chorus of
Yeah, it's like we know what you're
Yep,
saying.
you already know what I'm gonna say.
Comparison.
Yes. Just doom scrolling on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn.
Interesting.
It just puts you more into a spiral. Just comparing yourself, like how are all my classmates doing all these really cool things? How did they get this job? They're really enjoying their lives in New York or Baltimore, DC, wherever.
Yeah.
So then that made me really question, like, what am I doing with my life? But I'm pretty sure people were thinking that about me too when I like posted about traveling. And I'm good also, like I'm very grateful that I've had that opportunity to be able to do that and have that time too. But in reality, that traveling was only like 5% of my life. Like outside of that, I was stuck at home, not doing much and just being anxious about what the next step is going to be, you know.
I just want to say in response to what you just said too, like we've talked about, and I'm sure you hear it a lot, like social media is just the highlights, it's only the good stuff.
Yeah.
I would say it's what people want to show you. So some people are super authentic on social media, but it's still that extra barrier, that filter where you can say, do I want people to see this? Do I want people to know this? So it is in a sense what, not in a sense, it's what people want you to see because you literally post it. You get to decide that. So that's
this is the last clip I have from Angela's previous episode, but I felt like it was excuse me, I felt like this was appropriate right now in this conversation. So as a reminder, episode 5 was all about talking about perfectionism. And so at the end of the episode, we were reflecting on Reverend Scott Hamilton Adams' quote, "Perfectionism is the greatest form of self-abuse." And I felt like this was an interesting reflection that kind of relates to what we're talking about.
When he said that, the whole room, I think, like inhaled a little bit. It was like, that, yeah, like that's it. Because I think, I don't know, like there's certain in our culture and like it's so achievement based and like do well and look good and like all these things. I think sometimes it's like, oh, perfectionism is like the goal and it's good, but once you look at it as like self-abuse, like yeah, like it's driving you backwards. It's not bringing you forwards.
And I feel like that's really appropriate in our conversation right now because, we talk about comparing ourselves post-grad to what others are accomplishing, what others are doing. But it's that point of, while we're not necessarily talking about perfectionism right now, it becomes a point of like self-abuse. It's like, oh, well, I'm not achieving to the level that other people are. So it's a hindrance.
Or like
But
an
I think
ideal.
it's like not just comparing ourselves with others, but also comparing ourselves with what our expectations were
Yeah.
a couple years ago.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
for me, so my whole plan was I applied to this prestigious scholarship to teach abroad. And that was the only thing that I had applied to during my senior year because I knew how exhausting the job application process was. I knew that I didn't really want to do anything full time yet. And again, I wanted to do something abroad since I didn't have that opportunity during college. And so I think, unfortunately, I didn't get the prestigious scholarship and plans had to quickly change. But even now, I'm like, I could have been doing something really cool. I could have been teaching abroad. I like just grieving those possibilities. I feel like those are common thoughts to have after graduation, not just comparing yourself with others, but comparing yourselves with your past expectations.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, the last question I want to ask is for the people listening that are still in college or are about to graduate college, what is one thing you wish someone had told you that no one tells you?
It's a good question. One that I was not
advice
prepared.
you would give to others.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
advice I would give to, okay.
I think giving advice to myself versus giving it to others would be a different thing. But
I don't even think it has to necessarily be advice. It can just be something that you aren't told.
yeah.
And then you can maybe give advice,
Yeah.
of how to handle it. But
Bern, you want to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've like talked about this with my therapist and my life coach all week about this. So
Snaps
this is
for those support systems in our
Yeah,
love
lives.
that.
Come on, snaps all around.
This episode is sponsored by therapy.
Therapy.
Sponsored by BetterHelp. That would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Oh my God.
Every
BetterHelp is all
podcast.
over.
Every podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Come on,
Literally.
BetterHelp.
It
You want
used
to be
to-
on point of due.
No, for real. It used to be like Audible. Audible used to be like
Yeah.
the big
Yes.
sponsor, but now it's BetterHelp. Like,
BetterHelp's like lacking some reason. People
Yeah.
are just getting better. That's a good thing.
it's a good thing.
also, there's like problems with BetterHelp.
Maybe.
Isn't there?
I don't know.
Anyways, I think it's fitting that you've asked me this because I think the last couple of weeks I've tried to actively have this kind of mindset, especially like starting this part-time job and just kind of waiting on what's going to happen in the next couple of months with like full-time job opportunities. But I think my two biggest pieces of advice is to be patient and to stay present. The two P's. I'll coin that term where
I like that.
make that the two P's. Patience and
Make
presence.
Nick's job to market the episode easy. The two P's.
Yeah. We actually coined, and Justin is in the middle of a heavy legal battle to trademark this, the 4 F's, actually. I'm kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
So different than the 2 P's.
I know.
Yeah.
But I should say,
Please,
point of view
Bernie.
is not in court.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're not in legal trouble.
A lot of people are.
Bernie, can you
Ed
please
Sheeran. Sorry.
can you please repeat the two P's?
Patience and presence. And I think being patient and being present are two very important things people should be after graduation, no matter where they are. Because I know even though Andrew and I have gone through our challenges with, I don't know, with being unemployed or figuring out our path, people that even know their path or have the job that they've been wanting are still not enjoying it, you know? And I think that these pieces of advice are applicable to anyone. Anyways, right now I'm actually in a very content and satisfied place in my life because I've applied these things. Just comparing me now to, let's say, January of this year was also a really low for me. I felt like through the job process or the job application process, I was putting in so much work. I was also working on certifications for certain programs. I was putting in so much work for those things, but just waiting weeks and months for something to come up. And I was just being really hard on myself. Like, why I'm putting in so much work. I was just feeling so burnt out. But now I'm actually getting some results from companies from different corporations. I'm like, okay, it's paying off. So now I just have to remind myself, I just have to be patient through that time. And I still have to be patient right now that the best opportunity is going to come. I know people are always going to say that, and it sounded like a broken record to me because every single like older women at church just kept saying that to me.
That it's gonna work out.
That it's gonna work out.
Yeah.
The best opportunity is gonna come. And I completely agree with that. I still don't know what the opportunity is for me, but
It's true though, because it happened to me, and I never thought that would happen. Now I'm waiting for it to happen in other areas, but so you never believe it, even when it does happen to you. You don't. You're like, oh, that was a fluke, but it is true.
yes. And then with being present, I feel like we just worry about the future too much, and you're not enjoying what's happening right now. Like even if I'm doing this podcast right now, it's so easy for me to be like, okay, what am I going to make for lunch? What's going to happen next week? I have to do this job application, you know? No, we don't need to be thinking about that right now because that's not happening. And I think specifically with the job application process, with the job application process, it's so easy to have these expectations or to worry about your future job. But in reality, no, you just have to worry about right now. Enjoy right now, like the next right thing. The next right thing is finishing this podcast with you guys and then having lunch. I don't need to worry about my lunch right now.
It's like, we got to get this over with.
Brittany, why?
He's like, I need lunch.
Brittany's really hungry.
No, but
Brittany.
I hope you guys know what I mean, though.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
yeah.
Presence.
It was an analogy.
Presence.
Yes. I hope that people can apply that to their post-grad journey and everything will fall into place. I promise that. I'm still figuring that out, but I'm sure of it.
Love. Angela?
Well, I would say that was beautiful, Bernie. You said a lot of that inspired me. I would say, like, if I had to choose like one thing, the biggest thing that I've kind of learned from this time is that like there's no timeline. And I think during college, like at least for me, the way I think it was very much so planned out. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. 4 years, we're going to do this. We're going to have a normal grad.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
course.
normal college experience. Yeah, right. And we're going to graduate, and then I'm going to go to grad school and blah, blah, blah. And like, I had all these plans. And then once you get out of college, something just shifts when you don't have a school calendar, kind of. And I just thought, like, wow, I can do anything. Like, not anything, but like, I can do a lot of things, and there's no timeline. Like, some people literally our age are engaged. Some people have children.
Yeah.
Some people are getting out of a relationship that they've been in for a long time. Some people are changing careers. Some people are starting careers. Some people are starting med school. Like, there are so many different paths that you could be on. And now that you're like not, or that we are not like surrounded by people doing the same thing, it just feels like, wow, there's like no timeline and there's so many possibilities. So I would say to like embrace that. And for me, like, don't, just in my experience, like, I question my career, and I'm kind of like recreating my career and like my career plans. And with that, I'm just like reminding myself, and I would tell others to like be sure that you're doing what you want to do, because I've like had doubts about my major and like my career for a long time, and I think I just kind of like ignored them. But it probably would have been easier to not ignore them earlier on than now, like after I graduated. But whatever, no regrets. But now, like, looking back, it's like, no, at this point I'm like, I have all these doubts about like, okay, maybe like it's going to be a little harder, or like it might take another extra year than I planned to go in the direction that I now want to go in. But like, if it's what I want to do and I have the ability to do it, like financially and like logistically, then like, let's do it. Like, the only thing holding myself back is myself. So yeah, just kind of like, just embrace the no rules aspect of post grad as much as you can, and try to like use it to your advantage, because it's your life, babes. Go live it. Can we coin that one too?
Yeah. All these copyrights.
It's your life, babes. Go live it.
Yes.
Solazzo, comma, Angela.
Angela.
I probably have a lot of better lines than that one. Let's not coin that one.
I'm gonna print it and then put it on my wall, like one of the wall decals.
Sounds like a cheesy like ending to like a rom-com movie. Or not rom-com.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming of age movie. Like, it's your life, babes.
And it's your voice kind of like panning over. You can't see you saying it. It's just like as the camera's zooming out on the party.
Yes, exactly.
Distance, like, yep. Yeah, we all have the same picture.
Either it's panning away from her face and it's saying that, or she's saying this.
I'm scared. Like, more Angela. She's if I go down in history for anything, it's gonna be
Angela. She's great.
Can you tell I don't have confidence issues?
Well, thank you both for taking time out of your mornings and weekend to talk with us about this. I think a lot of what you shared is going to be really great for anyone to hear, but especially those who are graduating this year or some type of transition is happening in their lives. So I think a lot of your insights are really, really great for people to hear, and you have a really great perspective. So thank you for being here. It's so nice having you.
Thank you for having us.
I hope I can be part of the elite group and come on again.
Of course,
Come again. Yeah.
Point
More
of
Bernie.
twos.
Bernie, we got to circle back.
Oh yes.
Oh my gosh,
I
my
forgot.
fruit.
If you were a fruit, what fruit would you be and why?
Okay, so the first thing that came to mind was a coconut.
Ooh.
Because first, I love coconuts.
Me too.
Not the fake ass coconut water that you get like at a Wawa or whatever convenience store. Not that one. No, you
Which
have to
one's
get
fake?
a fresh coconut, like Vita something.
Oh man, really?
Vita
Coco.
Vita Coco. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Unless they want to sponsor this podcast, and like I like them. Don't worry.
Yes, Bernie.
Yeah.
No, screw coming on as a guest again. You're coming on as a co-host.
Yeah.
Look
Oh
at
my
that.
Brittany's
Look at
got
that
money on the
hustle.
mind.
Look at that hustle.
So coconut. So I feel like when you open a coconut, it's just like surprising. There's like the water and the meat. There's
The
just so many
meat?
things to it. Yeah, the
Okay.
coconut meat. You can eat the coconut
But
meat.
is it
That's what you call it.
really? Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah. Like the
It's like the white part, right?
the white part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
It's where the flakes come
Right,
from.
but I've never
Right,
been
like-
like, oh my God, look at this apple, so meaty. Like, you know?
I think that's a little different.
Okay.
But like I feel like they're not to say that I have a lot of benefits to people, but like I feel like there's a lot of benefits in the coconut with like the water, the meat. There's a lot of vitamins that like keeps people healthy. Like I don't know. So and like I like doing that.
No,
to
that's
people.
good, Bernie. You're inspiring with
Like,
like
Oh,
Bernie's like life fitness personal life fitness coach.
oh. Thank you, Ams. But I like it just has like a lot of things to make people better, and I like love
Oh.
doing that.
I love that.
Also, I wanted to make a joke. So to get a coconut off of a coconut tree, you literally have to climb it and like carry this like really big knife, and it's really hard to get. So I was like, oh, like I'm hard to get. Ha, ha,
Uh-huh.
ha.
Ooh.
Yes, she is.
I
High
play hard to get.
standards.
I
Yeah.
love that.
That too.
I love that.
So,
That was good, Bern.
yeah.
Apparently I am too. 2 years to follow. For a follow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah. That too.
Oh my gosh. Well, again, I love that answer. Thank you both for being here. I think this was a great conversation. And yeah, with that, my name is Justin Dew,
And I am Nick Gervasi.
and you can reach us at our email, pointofviewpodcast@gmail.com, and on our socials, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Point of View Podcast, and Twitter at Point of View. If you enjoy our show, make sure to follow the podcast and give us a rating or review wherever you get your podcasts, or share us with a friend or family member. We really appreciate it and are truly grateful for your support. As always, we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful 2 weeks. Thank you for listening, and until next time,
H.
go Hounds.
H.
全てを受け取り帰れ